Yeah, in your packet is a set of slides for civil service. Really, it's not changed much from this year's budget. There's a little increase in the services category for testing. There's anticipated to be more tests this year, but otherwise, it's basically the budget of the previous year with some adjustments for, as I say, services for testing, and then some benefit adjustments for the one full-time employee. What materials you have are a format, too, that I might add. You'll see throughout the budget presentations. What we tried to do was to identify what we do, meaning what does that particular agency of the city or department of the city do, who are they serving, and then if they generate revenues, which some of our departments do, what those are, and then finally their operating budget. Commissioner Diane Gove is here if there are any questions about the civil service budget.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Let's see. I guess next, and it's not in your packet, but it's a relatively simple budget. It was mine, the city manager's budget. It's about the same as last year, and it's I think it's about $1,500 increase. That's a result of additional insurance costs for my secretary and myself, and some additional benefit increases that occurred in retirement. No other changes in that. So.
I don't see any questions or hands raised.
And my office doesn't generate any money. Sorry.
Darn it.
So you're pure overhead, right, Doug?
Yeah, that's me. Next up would be engineering, and Bill Lupien's here to speak for his department.
Basically, do you want me to just take answers? I mean, or go through a big long spiel?
Did you have anything to hand out?
Oh,
It's in our,
it isn't in your packet?
Yeah.
I only got the one for civil service and the fire department.
it's in our packet that we got Friday.
Under corporation
Shouldn't be. No, I just have the corporation council.
As I mentioned, Bill, one of the concerns.
Well, if we have it on, could we just put it up on the board and I can get it after?
Yeah, Chuck's got it. Was the services line item? Council had asked for departments to explain what's in our services line items to start.
Okay. A lot of is like consulting fees. For example, the North Division Street Bridge, when the state did an inspection, and they inspect all our bridges every 3 years, they found out that there's sufficient, a good deal of concrete is spalled. They're somewhat concerned, although they know we have a bridge replacement project scheduled in a couple of years. So we're mandated to do quarterly inspections. So, I mean, that's like $1,250 every time they show up 4 times a year. They also looked at Schwartz Drive. Again, the sidewalk was starting to tip. Again, I'm mandated to do inspections there. My consulting fees is when these conditions come up, I have to hurry up and get a structural engineer to come down there, evaluate it, and then sometimes I'm required to either do quarterly inspections, annual inspections, depending on the nature of it. There's just it's constantly. It may only be 5 or 6 times a year, but until there's a capital account set up, there's nowhere to take that money. So it's basically fees that I have to incur for consulting services, mostly architectural or structural in nature, and then try to go from there.
Oh, With the parking garage, has there been any addition to this? No? With the parking garage issue?
Basically, that was a good point there. I had to have Jim Kaplan from Stoughton Engineering come over. I'm waiting for a little report. He's going to do a little detail. Hopefully we can, we had some cabling at the top of the garage, and a piece of concrete kind of fell down, and then the rebars were sticking up there. Wanted to first off make sure, is this a danger? Is anything structural? He came immediately over the very next day, did just a cursory inspection. We set up. I asked him, what was his evaluation there, and then for a small amount of money, I set up a purchase order, and he's going to do a little detail of how we can repair that in the interim. Some of the bolts came loose, and then the metal bracket fell down that was doing the support. We'll put the steel back up again, and we'll have to drill new holes, and it was a matter of where can we drill them, how far into the concrete and all that. Was it still safe to drive up there? Basically just the one area where they were dangling. The Public Works Department immediately came up there. We're able to cable it up and chain it, so it's now in a safer condition. And then as soon as I get that little detail, then we'll go after it. But these are the little things that happen throughout the year. That was something that was not addressed when we rehabilitated. We were more after decks and and the stairways and the rusted metal and all the rest. This was just something that comes up on a 35-year-old structure. It was more cosmetic than anything, but it's still, if the concrete kept falling, it would be an unsafe condition, and you definitely wouldn't want to be underneath it. So we'll take care of that item. But that's a very good example of what my little consulting fees go for.
Bill, this could have been handled under other business, but I think it's important now that it's brought up. Who determined what was done on the parking garage? Was that coming from your department, or because I know we spent quite a bit of money just recently on that parking garage, and to have something like this happen so quickly after a complete renovation.
But it wasn't. It's a 35-year-old structure. It's going to buy us another 10, 15 years. We went after the structural elements. We didn't go after every single thing around the garage. I mean, that was I think a couple $1 million structure a long time ago back in the 70s. It's an expensive one. We only did $1 million renovation project. Now, I mean, $1 million is a lot of money, but again, $1 million at today's money, we probably only dealt with, 25% of the more pertinent issues of the garage. But we were after the post-tensioning cables before, making sure the deck was safe, making sure the stairwell, which had a lot of metal that was, rusted away, was becoming unsafe. We also did an update on the elevator, remodernized that one. And so, but we didn't go cosmetically and go around every asset of the garage. And, there's going to be other things happening, but that's just part of the operation and maintenance of a $2 million structure.
Like,
I mean, you're going to spend, maybe you might spend $30,000 a year.
But this was a safety situation here to have something like that fall off of almost the roof.
Right, and as soon as we did that, Jim Kaplan from Stoughton there said that, why don't we, he said, I could charge you a lot of money and have my guys over here, and we could tap all the metal to see if the concrete's still laminated underneath it, or you could. So I immediately had our like 3 of my engineers run right over there, and we got our metal hammers out and mallets and started tapping it and listening for dead spots. Went all the way around the garage, and basically there's a couple of dead areas that were pretty almost, you could almost see them. And as soon as we get that sketch from Jim, which will be forthcoming, we'll be able to have our own Public Works Department then use that sketch and fix it properly. Basically, my budget is same number of people. We do an unbelievable amount of capital projects. That's one of the things we are. We're project managers. We do the New York State 5-year program. We, like the South Street water main and paving. Hopefully now in about 3 weeks, we'll probably start milling and paving that one. The Walnut Street culvert is going full blast again, and probably in about 3 weeks you'll see significantly all the walls will be up, and they'll start backfilling it, and then we'll go right after the roads. We got a traffic signal project where we're out there going after 5 signals. We got to wait till it gets a little warmer at night so we can pour some of the concrete near the handicap ramps. And then we had some conflicts with NICEAG to move a few poles. They still haven't got them moved out of the way, but that again will be coming up in the next couple months. We got 3 new projects like the North Division Street Bridge, 2 culverts on the North Hunter Brook at Schwartz and McIntosh. And then we're going to repave West Genesee Street from North Street right out to the city line. So, I mean, those 3 projects are just starting. We've got some other projects that are a year or 2 behind that. And, you know, it's just like we've been very fortunate to get these DOT projects. And, you know, that kind of keeps our guys busy. We're also down at the wastewater treatment plant, putting belt filter presses in, consent sewer orders. We do our road program 100% in-house. We do usually 2-3 sidewalk programs each year. We assist the CDBG program, do their sidewalks. They also have a parks playground. We assist on that. Basically, we do a lot of program management of capital projects for the city. There's probably only a couple that we don't get involved in. We also coordinate with all utilities on anything in the city's right-of-way, take care of complaints and all the rest of those. Big part of our time is really, people don't realize how much paperwork it is dealing with the federal and state government, minority business. You know, we deal with 2 or 3 FERC, a DEC, Department of Labor, Department of Health, Cuyahoga County Health Department, you know, the DOT, the Environmental Facilities Corporation. It's just a huge amount of time. Basically, if we wanted to get into the revenues, we're not a big revenue producing department. We may charge $25 to administer the revolving loan programs. We charge $40 for plans and specs for all the projects. But the big thing we do is we're always negotiating with our consultants. So when we come down here for a capital project, we've taken what they've wanted and really gone through and got them down as low as they possibly can get to come down here. We also have done energy projects like all the street lights a couple of years ago. We replaced them all with either LEDs or induction lamps, cut 50% of our power bill. We also went through the parking garage, replaced all their fixtures, put an energy management system in there. So if operated correctly, we'll probably save 40-50% of the electric cost. We help bid out the gas and electric. We help out on, you know, some of the cogen calculations here and try to do that. I mean, we support other departments as needed. And basically our budget's pretty well flat compared to last year. I think we do a very, very good job with the few people we've got. Basically got 6 full-time people. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I just have one, and I'm going to ask this question from every department head. Bill, do you have any cost savings or cost efficiencies that you want to share with council?
And unfortunately, I don't know if it's in your packet, but it says
No, I don't have it.
Changes in service or other significant changes. What we're looking at is as we're milling, the road millings are starting to become an asset, and so we will be probably working with Hanson Aggregates there to either get a credit. Sometimes they'll give us crusher run if we bring the millings over. Other times they may give us a discount, maybe $4, $5 off the next ton of blacktop. So we'll be continuing to use the millings for our own purposes, and then whatever else we have surplus, we're hoping to get either stone or reduced cost there. We're still going with our geospatial information system, our GIS. We're continuing to locate all our utilities. Hopefully, like code enforcement, when they go out there, they'll have GPS and all the rest. We're into that viewpoint software. It'll take 2-3 years before it's really fully functioning as a real good asset. Like I say, we're always looking at electricity cost credits. We're working with the manager at the cogen plant. Like I say, we've worked on the procurement of energy for both gas and electric. Right now, we are working with that energy advisors to make sure that we can get it at the lowest price. We're always looking. We just had those 2 energy performance contracts with Wendell's and Siemens, and if there's any more opportunities to do more efficiency measures, then we'll bring another project back to council. We're always looking at whatever. There's a lot of nice CERTA money out there for renewable energy projects, and we'll look at each one, and if there anything applies to us, then we'll definitely jump on it and bring it to your consideration. So, our big thing is saving operating cost, saving consultant fees. That's where we save the city of Auburn a lot of money. We just don't generate a lot of revenues, but that's how that's our best contribution to the city.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
The next budget presentation is fire department. So Chief Dygert is here.
Anybody after me? Probably can take as long as I want.
I expected you would.
I don't know how much detail you want in this thing. Again, we use the template that Laura provided, so we've got all the different functions that the fire department provides. Most of them are pretty common things that you would imagine, like fire suppression. We've got fire prevention in there. I think everybody knows we go around to the elementary schools a couple times a year and deal with those folks, but we also do fire prevention education for the senior citizens, housing projects, things like that, because they're a vulnerable group when it comes to fire. We deal with some of the local industry and help them with their fire prevention efforts, as well as places like the hospital and things like that. Obviously, we've got our fire suppression stuff in here, fire investigation, which is something that probably a lot of folks don't realize that we do. We are required every time there's a fire to do everything we can to determine a cause for that fire. Once we get to a certain point, if it looks like it's a criminal matter, we work hand in hand with the local police department, or possibly higher level investigation from the state as well, but we bring the fire service expertise to those types of investigations. Emergency medical first response, which everybody's probably familiar with. Hazardous materials response, which probably everybody doesn't realize all that goes into that, but there's an extensive amount of training that goes into that, quite a bit of equipment as well. The majority, the lion's share of the hazardous materials response, the most of that is funded through Homeland Security grant funding that is funneled through Cayuga County, and they do a great job allowing us to continue to train our people and equip our people. We are part of a very long-standing, one of the first hazmat consortiums in New York State. We basically built the template. I shouldn't say we, the fire department and members of the fire department many years ago built the template for that other areas in the state have modeled their programs after. And we partner up with the city of Cortland and the city of Ithaca extensively for equipment. We share equipment, things like that, because some of that monitoring and metering equipment can be extremely expensive. The technical rescue stuff, that's grown to practically nothing formalized in the early 1990s to some really technical stuff now. And again, most of the funding for that comes through Homeland Security funding that gets funneled through Cayuga County to us. And again, we have a multi-county consortium so that we can share specialty resources. General hazard mitigation, just stuff, when nobody knows who else to call, they call 911, and then they figure out whether it's a police call or a fire call. And, some of the stuff may seem crazy, but we respond to all sorts of different things when nobody knows who else to turn to. And we either solve their problem or we put them in touch with somebody that can. The last item on that is emergency services training. We do a fair amount of that. We train medical folks. Because we have such a large group of people ourselves that we have to keep educated and refreshed and all that, according to the Department of Health, we open our doors and we provide training to outside agencies as well. And when it comes to all sorts of fire or rescue or hazmat training, we typically open up our doors to neighboring departments. As a matter of fact, next week we're doing vehicle extrication training, and that's open to the volunteer departments around us when we conduct that. In a few weeks, we're going to be conducting confined space rescue training, and we'll be certifying instructors from all over New York State. They'll be coming and spending 4 days at a time with us from all over the state to get that certification. Who we serve, everybody in the community, residents of all means and backgrounds, business owners, big and small, visitors, travelers, other city departments through training. In some cases, we train other city departments. A lot of you probably have experienced a fire extinguisher training or first aid, CPR, other things that we provide on occasion, confined space awareness training and trench rescue or trench safety training for the DPW workers to help them comply with Department of Labor requirements and local insurance company desires also. And then obviously through mutual aids service and providing service for the neighbors. Different revenues, we really don't necessarily generate revenue per se, but we try to recover some revenues here and there. One of the primary ways we see some reimbursement is through New York State Department of Health. I mentioned that we provide EMS training, and we have to train our own people, and rather than pay somebody else to train our folks, we have our own people internally that can provide that training. And because we are what's referred to by New York State as a course sponsor, we actually get reimbursed for everybody that successfully completes that training. Last year, we got reimbursed for roughly $16,000. We anticipate the same for 2015. It's on a roughly 3-year cycle, so there'll be a lull for 1 year, and then it'll start up again. Those reimbursements are good to offset salaries, overtime costs, and equipment costs related to providing that type of training. I already mentioned the Cuyahoga County Emergency Management and the grant reimbursements that they funnel through different state programs down to us. Several of those grant programs individual municipalities cannot apply for. They're not eligible. It can only go to counties. And we have a good working relationship with those folks. And depending on the grant and the type of program it is, sometimes that goes towards reimbursing salaries, overtime, and a big part of it is equipment that otherwise we'd be paying for, and they provide it, and we take care of it in the city, and it's available to folks in the county. Last year we received about $21,000 in direct salary and overtime reimbursements for training purposes. We anticipate roughly the same for this coming year. The equipment is much more than that, and I didn't itemize out the different equipment, but on an annual basis, it's a fair amount of money and maintenance for that equipment as well. I put in here the SAFER grant that we were lucky enough to be awarded last year, and that's going to average about $350,000 a year on the salaries and benefits for those 6 positions during the term of that grant. Last year we introduced a vacant building registry, and that produced actual results, $42,000 in revenue. That's not 100% compliance, but that's very good compliance compared to what I've seen across the state. And that was based on the first year fees. 2015, that fee bumps up, and based on the same level of compliance, I would expect that we're going to see $70,000 worth of revenue recovered on that program. Our fire inspections that we do on commercial occupancies generate just a little bit of money. It offsets some fuel costs probably if we looked at it like that, but we've got about $5,000 in this current year for that $35 fee for doing the fire inspections, which are required by New York State Code. We plan on bumping those up just a little bit, not the fee itself, but the number of inspections performed in 2015, so I put a small increase in there for that. And then when we get to the actual budget itself, not very much of a change there at this point in time. Personnel's obviously staying where it's at. The budget itself is seeing a slight increase. That's based on the preliminary budget here. I'm not sure if we've got final health insurance costs or things like that at this point yet. And if you look through some of the detail behind the scenes on that, a significant portion of that increase is actually the health insurance, the anticipated or estimated health insurance increase. What's new or what's changing? What do we plan on doing? Bill Lupian talked about some of the things that other departments are doing as far as trying to get things more digitized or electronic, whatever you want to call it. We're hopping on board, hopefully, with the Code Enforcement Department to do our inspections electronically in the field, as well as what we refer to as pre-fire planning, which essentially to the general public would look like an inspection, but it's just our ability to be able to get information on a building during the middle of the night if we need it. We're continuing to move forward on a program for locating our hydrants utilizing GIS, and we do that now, but we're trying to update it. It was done about 15 years ago, and the technology and the accuracy has improved considerably, so that's moving forward. We're looking to update some of our EMS services at no cost, but just to make our services a little more meaningful in the community. We've partnered with the Cuyahoga County Health Department on a thing called the Healthy Neighborhoods Grant, and we're targeting specific neighborhoods with representatives from the County Health Department to go in and check certain areas of the city for smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, lead, natural gas leaks, things like that, and try to improve some neighborhoods that way. We've obviously got the public safety building project that continues to move forward. And lastly, just in the last week or two, we are working with the county as well as several private corporations to construct a new confined space rescue training prop at the county training facility, which is on Quarry Road in the city. We're the biggest user of that training facility on Quarry Road. And we're putting some effort into that, and we've got some local corporations that we think are on board with helping to offset the cost and basically donate most of the cost of the materials to accomplish that. So that's coming. Any questions?
Just same one that I asked Bill, cost savings that you're bringing to the table to council for consideration with your budget. Unless you want to get back to us on that, that's fine. I'm going to give everybody that opportunity to ask that question across the board.
Sure.
Council.
So, Chief, I was wondering, the 14-15 budget has numbers. Does that number include the SAFER grant? Because when we voted on the budget, it was prior to
That number doesn't include the offset for the SAFER grant. Is that correct, Laura? It's the cost of all the personnel, but it doesn't. I don't believe it shows the offset for the funds coming up. 7.9.
Are you talking about the?
So we voted on,
or the?
well, just the overall savings of for the department and how that affects. Did the SAFER grant affect operating budget in any way over time? I mean, I guess that's what are we budgeting for?
The SAFER grant was 6 positions, which is roughly $350,000 a year. 3 of those positions were additional positions.
Okay.
3 of those positions are positions that were required anyway because of the collective bargaining agreement. So essentially that SAFER grant for at least the 2 years, essentially the 3 years, is offsetting the cost of 3 positions that were required under the collective bargaining agreement. So 50% of that $350,000 is an offset to what would normally be coming out of budget money.
Okay. And I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Just also to add to that, Chief Daggert's budget also had a decrease in overtime this year.
And you were saying that the biggest increase is coming from health insurance, correct?
Yes, I raised health insurance just an arbitrary 5% or now 5% for right now. But what I did was went through and instead of using an average rate for each employee, like I did last year, I went through and determined exactly what plan each employee had and used their exact plan cost. Fire, unfortunately, took a bit of the brunt of that because they have a lot of family plans.
How final, Chief, is there, how flexible are you and as we move forward in our budget process we have the budget that was given to us had a $768,000 gap.
Right.
And the city manager's estimate and the comptroller's estimate was a $500,000 gap. I know 3.8%. It's in the scheme of things doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm just seeing. Are there any contingency plans to bring the percentage down closer to last year's? Or I know health insurance is the biggest chunk of that, but is the vehicles that were tonight, is that going to help with?
Oh, absolutely. That'll help. Now that we know that, we may be able to make some adjustments in maintenance. Although, again, some of that may depend on timing, and we'll know more about that over the next couple of weeks as some of this plays out. I think there's things like the health insurance, which is an estimate now, but not necessarily an absolute. Pension contribution, that's not finalized yet, or not yet? So pension contribution could wiggle around a little bit. Really, if you look at this budget, the majority of it is contractual things. Okay, and if we take out all of the stuff that doesn't have to do with actually personnel, the operating budget itself, what pays for the fuel, the lights, and repairs to the vehicles and repairing broken equipment, is at about $430,000, which that's a very low figure. If you were to look at some of the local fire departments around here, some of them, not all of them by any means, but some of them have bigger budgets than that to run their operations. So we try to do a really good job on that. I would suspect there's probably going to be some wiggle room at the end of this budget. We probably will not have expended our entire budget, but I have to be careful when I do this budget to make sure that we have some funding in there if we have mechanical failures, things like that, and to cover those things. So very little went up this year as far as if you were to look at the individual lines. There's an administrative vehicle in there for roughly $30,000, and the one that was just approved would certainly help us out a lot. The one that's in the budget presentation that we're talking about this evening, the $30,000 one, would be helpful, but if everything else doesn't work out, we can get by. We increased our vehicle repair line by about $10,000 just based on the situation we have with apparatus right now. And depending on timing, which is key to this whole thing, depending on timing, if we can take delivery of a new vehicle prior to the end of this budget cycle, we may save some money. If it's going to get dragged out, it potentially could cost us a little more than anticipated.
Laura, I had a question for you. You mentioned overtime was down. How much is it down from last year? Do you have those figures, or can you?
For your talk for the proposed budget, I think I've got it right here. The proposed is at 150, and obviously we had a fluctuation because we had so many retirements and things like that. So the proposed for next year is 150. I'm confident we can stay within that. And this year, let's see, I'm just kind of. Oh, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, the proposed budgets are actually, I probably should have explained this a little better. The proposed budgets are the same. So this budget is equal to last year's budget, but this year's budget is equal to what he's requesting for next year. But as you remember, we have had some overruns in the overtime line. So the actual for this year is going to be more than his budget for next year because of the we discussed it a couple months ago, the training that had to get done this summer, and there was a lot of overtime with regard to that. But remember that the fire department is significantly under in their salaries, so that group of salary items is still within the current budget and projected to stay within budget through the end of the year.
What you're saying is he's gonna he's gonna ask for less in the overtime next year compared to this year. It's not down like it's down this year. I just try following up on what you spoke of
The budget
earlier.
request is the same year over year, but the actual this year versus what he's requesting next year is going to be less.
That's compared to the previous year where it was like 600,000, wasn't it? Up there?
Yeah, so 2013-14 is the most, 2014-15 is a lot less, and 2015-16 should be less than that.
I'm just following up on what you spoke on earlier. That's all I'm looking for a clarification on.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Other business